think the term bread and circus comes from the Romans, right? I believe, anyway. That's the idea was if you kept people occupied in some sort of sport or something, they could some frivolous activity they could be entertained by. It would help keep the population from like murdering you or whatever their thought was. And since I would say the mid 20th century, we've had that cranked up to such a point here that it's sort of become American culture. This kind of thing, movies, entertainment, TV, blah, 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 blah. Well, over the past, I'd say really since 2016, as if you spend any amount of time on YouTube, you're probably aware that they've been trying to destroy all that stuff. And it usually goes something like this. Whatever IP, game, movie, book series, you'll start hearing rumblings about how it's not inclusive in some way, and then it gets infiltrated, and the creatives get involved, infiltrated by like activists who then change it, and then everyone who was into it, it becomes demonized, and you know, and then they all leave. And the people who changed it weren't interested in it to begin with, so then they leave, and the whole thing kind of collapses. We've seen this with everything, and there's been a lot of channels, like pop culture critical channels, that popped up and have done very well over the years. My theory is that these people are plants, because if you look into them, a lot of them are from Hollywood. They don't like it when you mention that, though. And since they always control their own opposition, I think this whole movement of this online, not all of it, you know, and people certainly feel that way because, you know, they get a lot of attention, a lot of views, and big audience. But they're running out of things to complain about. You know, it's getting to a point now where, you know, like I was saying recently, it's like you're gonna turn on like Neurotic or something one of these days and see him freaking out about how they're ruining Care Bears, you know, or something like that, because they're just running out of intellectual property that's been ruined for them to complain about. You know, you're gonna Silverhawks or Sectors, or I mean, they're really scraping the bottom of the barrel with things that they haven't ruined yet. And the ruiners themselves are running out of things to ruin. One of the kind of confusing aspects of it, though, is that the nature of bread and circus is to keep people occupied, whether it's sports ball even, or politics, because that's complete fantasy too. Whatever can get people to not pay attention to what's happening that's important, they'll put to the forefront. And there's, you know, a lot of people that spend their time, their lives, engrossed in these pursuits. Well, if you take that away from them, and, you know, you're a farmer, you're trying to change society, trying to make it more into the socialist hell that you want. But what happens to the disenfranchised people that were there? Now they don't have anything to occupy their time. So wouldn't that be kind of dangerous for them? You know, because if you take all their stuff, they're going to start looking at you like, all right, well, what the fuck? And then they're going to start getting into their business. You would think you'd want people placated and lost in these, you know, fantasy worlds or whatever kind of thing they are, to keep people from paying attention to the important stuff. I mean, that was the point. So by destroying all that, and they've gotten just about all of it, one would think that would be a dangerous game for the social shapers, the farmers to play. I mean, do you want the attention of all those people who normally had something to occupy their time? Now they don't, and now they're, looking at, what you're doing. I don't think that, I don't know how that helps them. Of course, there are plans within plans, and schemes within schemes. But so that brings me to what I was about to talk about now, which is, where is he? I have a Batman sleeve. I know it's ridiculous, but whatever. Batman. He's now going to be made canonically bisexual. Might as well be gay, because that's what it is. I mean, what bisexuality is a perversion. It's degenerate perversion. It's not, you can argue about the gay thing, or he's born this way, whatever. But bisexuality just means you'll just fuck anything. And, yeah, I mean, this Batman is, I've always loved by people of all ages. He was created and primarily still is geared toward children. I mean, I see little kids all the time with Batman gear on their clothes or shirts, and they so I don't know. It's grooming, is what it is. It's like, well, if Batman's gay, then the kids will, maybe get into it, and then maybe I can get a date. Because all these people pushing this indulge in this kind of degenerate behavior. And again, I would argue bisexuality is fucking degenerate behavior, okay? And I'm not saying, I'm not degenerate. I'm not saying that I'm not even part of that group, But I don't think Batman should be, It just seems like, I don't know. I mean, lately with comic books too, DC in particular, Marvel's trash too, but DC has made pretty much all their major characters gay. Robin, Green Lantern, the list goes on. I'll put some up on the screen here as I'm talking. But I think the only major guys, or I don't even know if you can use the word guy anymore, I don't know if that's problematic, but I think the only guys that aren't engaging in sodomy are the Flash and Aquaman, I think, from the main group. And that's what it is. I mean, let's be honest here. What they're talking about is sodomy. That's what it is. I mean, I don't really understand why you'd want to get kids to understand what that is, or even have to question something like that. I don't think you should be talking about any kind of sex, straight, gay, or whatever, around kids. This is a children's product originally, okay? And for the most part, it still is. There's cartoons of Batman of all different kinds. And just a few years ago, they had a very kid-centered Batman cartoon called Brave and the Bold. Bisexuality is kind of a hard thing to explain to kids. It's like, why do we have to talk about his sexuality at all? Because they want to fuck kids. And that's it, And that's what they want. I just did a video on this about how they really want to push this fucking pedophile thing. Really, maps. They really want to push this. But where's the pushback? I mean, other than Neurotic or something. And God bless him for doing it. I like Neurotic. He's cool. I mean, I think his grift's running out. And it's not just him. There's a lot of those. And it's not really a grift. I mean, whatever. They have their own thing. It's just funny to see them doing it now, because they're literally running out of things to become angry with. Although the Rings of Power thing gave them all a bit more to talk about. That shit is bad. That's so funny. But Batman is probably the first fictional character that I got interested in I mean, at like 4, a little Batman sweater as a kid. I mean, this is a kid's, you know, do we have to make it known that he puts his penis in other men's asses? Is that what we have? Or he takes a penis in his ass? Is that what we need to discuss that and let kids know that? Because they want to get kids curious about it because it's fucking grooming. I don't know how much of this I can even get away with saying here. I don't know what, yeah, I might get another week off, and that's the problem. You can't push back against this stuff in online spaces because you'll get hit with it's, you're bullying or it's hate speech. So you really can't say anything about it. You know, they made Superman gay recently. I thought that would get a little bit more attention, but it really didn't. And I think the idea of trying to make people more accepting and understanding is starting to have the opposite effect, where it's fermenting a lot of anger. A lot. You can see it. You can see it. But they have a stranglehold, the same people have a stranglehold on the tech and on the internet. So if you object to it, not only will you be silenced, you'll also be put in some kind of group of extremists, possible white supremacy, possible Trump support, which is like akin to Hitler support in the culture. Like, you're just screwed. Like, you can't say anything. So what do you do? I mean, what can you do? What can you do? And it's beyond just, I mean, yeah, these are just intellectual property from large corporations, but like I was saying earlier, in the mid 20th century, this stuff became so ubiquitous as to become the culture. So I think it's safe to say Batman is a cultural icon. And so to now, it would even be better if they just said he was gay, but the whole thing is then bisexual is absolutely degenerate. It's not something you're born with. You're not born bisexual. You're just like 3 o'clock in the morning. There's no chicks around. You're kind of fucked up. You know, I could see how something like this could happen, you know. Hypothetically, of course. You know, hypothetically. But it would almost be better. But the thing is, he's not, because he's been around 80 years. You know, we know the guy's history. We know what kind of man he is. Or what kind of guy he is. He's barely even interested in sex. His whole thing is... Why, but here's the thing again. Why are we talking about sex? Why are we talking about the sex lives of these comic book superheroes? Whether it's Green Lantern, or Robin, or Superman, or Batman. Why do we have to know that they're gay? Like why does this have to even be a thing? Can we just leave that out of it? That's what a rational person would think. But when you want to buck kids, you know, you have to take sometimes a back door in to get to the back door. These people are scum. They're absolute trash. And yeah, it bugs me. It has the opposite effect too. A lot of the stuff they're doing now as far as social engineering, I mean, I've always kind of leaned a bit more conservative than liberal most of my life, which has kind of always been a problem for people. But I think it's only because of the things I've experienced. And your experience makes up what kind of person you are. And it's not that I like the conservatives. They wouldn't have me in their group. Certainly don't make enough. In fact, I mean, I was thinking the other day about walking around here in Hawaii, and sometimes you have run-ins with people, problems with people. Someone just wants to get in your fucking grill about something. It's always white dudes. It's never been anything else. So, yeah, I wouldn't consider myself either thing, like a conservative or a liberal. I think if you label yourself one of these things, You need some quiet reflection because you're being fucking played. And you're smarter than that. Get out of that trap. But as far as ideology, I definitely hew more in that direction of, maintaining some sort of tradition. I mean, there's a reason things have worked so well, and that's so well in air quotes, but it could be a lot worse if we haven't hewed to some of the traditional things that have kept the human race going, for better or worse, as long as it has. Conservatives aren't trying to get me to think about kids and sex all the time, which is what the blue team's doing. And again, I don't know how many. It won't matter what I say. Like, that shit doesn't matter. If you try to tell people like you're independent, you don't care about either side, the blueies just hear, oh, he's a red, and the reds hear, oh, he's a blue. So it's not even any point. I know what I am. I know what I think. And, fuck off, basically. I don't, I'm gonna do my own thing. Do not like, do not subscribe, do not ring the bell. I would never tell anyone to do that anyway. I would suggest they don't, because you don't want this. Well, actually, it's already in your history, so you might as well. I mean, all that stuff's looked at, all that stuff's recorded. I try to mess around with that algorithm by just watching random stuff. I'll put on a playlist from like a cooking channel and just let it roll for a while, just to try to mess with the algorithm, so I'm not pulled in completely, so I'm at least not in the first batch of people that are yanked into the street, But yeah, man, it's like, I guess I've taken this one a little bit more personal, because I've always been like a big fan. If you've ever seen me inside of my place, and some of you have, I have it on videos and stuff. It's basically a it's a man-child Batman shrine. That's why I call anything I shoot indoors I call Batcave H&L. I have a Instagram page for it too, which just has my collection and related, Batman type things. So it's like he's always kind of been there. It's always kind of been sort of in in my whole life too. And I mean, I got ink. As silly as it is, yeah, I'm a pretty big fan. So this it's one of those things that has the opposite effect. It turns a person like me, who is, traditionally neutral in a lot of this stuff, it definitely pushes me to one side. It's like that meme that, who radicalized you? You did. But I kind of think, I don't kind of think, it's all by design. They want people to get really angry. Because what they want in this country is they want a civil war. They need to have that civil war. There's a myriad of reasons why they need it. Mainly to cover up the fact that, this country was created as a money laundering land, basically, to prop up another nation that they created out of thin air that doesn't really belong where it is. And they've hurt a lot of people and killed a lot of people gleefully, if you've ever seen some of the footage, to create that fake country. And they use this country to funnel money into it to build it up. And eventually they knew this one was going to collapse. It was just like those, just like the buildings on 7-Eleven. They were built to collapse. This place was built to collapse. So now the card tables are about to fold up as we're heading toward the end here. And a civil war solves a lot of problems for them. It's basically like, you've been cheating at poker all night and you want to slip out. So what you do is you start a bar fight And then while everybody's trying to kill each other, you just slip out the back, and then the rats go out the door. That's what's happening pretty much. But yeah, so I think people, marginalized groups that the overreach to try to correct maybe misdeeds of the past or mistreatment in the past, whatever it is, racially, socially, sexually, unfortunately, as we have to talk about this now. I don't think the majority of those groups are with a lot of this extreme behavior. I mean, like I said earlier, I know plenty of gay guys that are just gay, and they're not down with all this crazy extremism or kid grooming or any of this stuff. But what it does is it pushes kind of neutral people into taking a position, an adversarial position. And it takes people who were already in that adversarial position or the fringes of it and makes them extremists. They want the Civil War. They want people to get so fed up that they, that it turns to that. They need that. I think that's what this whole Trump thing is about too. Well, it absolutely is. It's trying to get people to smash together. It's smushing the action figures together. And they're just going to slip out the back. It's too bad. It's too bad. We're all being played by it. But, so even though I understand why it's happening, who's doing it, it's just this one kind of bugs me, I mean, I don't think I would have, you can say what you want about having a Batman tattoo, but I'm not sure I would have gotten a gay icon put on my shoulder had I known, because, I'm not really gay. So, I don't know, whatever. You try to remain sort of level-headed about this kind of stuff, and it's certainly not the thing to go crazy over by any means. I mean, I know, I know what it is, and it doesn't change him to me. Like, just like anything else that's been ruined that I'm into, like, I don't consider any of that Star Wars crap Star Wars. I got the movies, the 3 movies, and that's it. In my head, that shit doesn't exist. It's fucking fan fiction. It's bullshit. Same thing with Star Trek. Can't go down the list. All of them. All of them. They've all had this treatment. And not just movies, like I was saying, books, games, tabletop fucking games. They tried to ruin Dungeons. I think they have ruined Dungeons and Dragons already. Can't have racial modifiers. It's like shit. They wouldn't be happy to know that I use that in real time in my head. I'm like, oh shit. I have to make a wandering monsters throw. I think these guys are coming over here. Whatever. But if everyone's gay, then is anyone gay? Because the DC universe is pretty much, I mean, are we going to have the fucking Bathhouse Limited series where it's a crossover between everybody? Batman in there with Superman and Robin. And these are American cultural icons, so it's important for them to ruin them. And it isn't to empower gay people at all. I don't think most gay people give a shit about this. It's not like they aren't like, wow, this is a win for us. They don't care. I mean, I don't believe that they do. For the majority of them, I don't believe they give a fuck about this stuff. What they're trying to do is make other people angry with it, And it works. And unfortunately, people will turn their disappointment against the wrong people. It's just manipulation on a giant scale, but that's been the way since the beginning. And I'm not going to solve it here in Schizo Garage, that's for sure. Don't blame the teacher, blame the school.